You can guarantee success if you decide in advance you'll never give up. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like strength. It sounds like the missing ingredient for every man who feels like he keeps stalling just before the breakthrough. But in existential neurobiology, we're less interested in how a sentence feels and more interested in what it trains your nervous system to do. Never give up can be a path to grit and dignity. It can also become something far more dangerous than failure, a trap that teaches you to override your own survival instincts in the name of winning. The archetype I'm calling DM is a very modern kind of high-performance operator. He builds businesses, coaches founders, runs challenges, and speaks to hundreds of thousands of men about time, leverage, and the importance of never quitting on your goals. His influence is real, and his content is often genuinely useful. This is not about calling him a villain. This is about treating him as an X-ray into a particular nervous system pattern that's easy to admire, easy to imitate, and very expensive to run if your body is more like the equipment in his story than the athlete using it. Here's a story often told within this archetype. Weeks before a major endurance event, the individual faces a sudden, catastrophic setback. While engaged in a crucial training session, a freak accident occurs, a collision, a mechanical failure, or an unexpected environmental hazard. The equipment is ruined, the body is shaken, and the immediate advice from onlookers is to withdraw, to prioritize recovery, to acknowledge the universe's clear signal to halt. Any reasonable person, the narrative suggests, would heed these warnings, but the archetype refuses. The internal decree is unwavering. This challenge is non-negotiable. The objective stands. I will find a way. So, with sheer force of will, they scramble to replace what was lost, adapting to unfamiliar tools or conditions. They push through discomfort, recalibrating their approach in a compressed time frame. Against all odds, they complete the arduous event. The implicit message to their followers is potent. Adversity is merely a crucible. It serves to reveal the depth of one's commitment. True achievers don't interpret setbacks as reasons to stop. They see them as opportunities to demonstrate unyielding resolve. Surrender is simply not an option. This becomes the bedrock of their philosophy. End of doctrine. He then breaks that doctrine into 3 key principles that become the backbone of his teaching. First, default to gratitude. Don't focus on the damaged equipment. Focus on the fact that you're still breathing. 1 second later, and God knows what might have happened. Second, dial in your why. This isn't about a medal or a finish time. It's about honoring every version of you that had to fight to get here, and every person you've lost along the way. Third, drop the selfish stuff. Other people are watching you. They're fighting their own battles. What story are you telling them if you pull out when it gets hard? From an existential neurobiology perspective, this is not classic empire builder energy. This is crusade energy. DM isn't optimizing his calendar to conquer markets for their own sake. He's optimizing his life to live out a story of redemption and leadership. The nervous system signature is closer to ENFJ, high relational bandwidth, high meaning-making, and a constant sense that your personal struggle is a symbol for your tribe. Systems and SOPs are just armor and weapons for a deeper crusade. I was almost destroyed. I refused to fold, and now I will show you how to do the same. If you listen closely, almost every element of that story is relationally hooked. The accident isn't just about a race. It's about a wife who still has a husband and kids who still have a dad. The finish line isn't just about personal resilience. It's framed as an act of service to every person who's ever had something taken from them and had to figure out how to keep going. This is why the story lands so hard for men who feel lost. Your private pain is suddenly part of a larger, heroic pattern. You're not just trying to finish a race, you're fighting for everyone who couldn't. That's the gift of this archetype. Meaning is powerful medicine. But in EN we always ask, how does the medicine behave in the body? What does this teaching train your nervous system to do when you're scared, tired, or broken? Default to gratitude can sound healthy, but it often functions here as do not complain about genuine danger. Dial in your why sounds deep, but practically it means stacking so much emotional weight on a goal that backing off becomes morally unthinkable. Drop the selfish stuff sounds noble, but it can turn the act of listening to your own fear signals into a betrayal of the tribe. Now imagine you're not a well-resourced coach in good health. Imagine your nervous system already has its own built-in residual current device, tripping constantly from years of trauma, illness, or burnout. You're more like the shattered equipment than the athlete standing over it. When someone like DM says, "You guarantee success by deciding you'll never give up," what your body hears is, "Your warning lights are weak. Real men override them." Michael Schumacher was a world-class driver with money, skill, and discipline, and still one apparently ordinary moment on a ski slope changed his life forever. High performance is not a force field. There's also a question that never appears in that story. What about the kids? What about the partner who actually needs a living, functioning father more than they need a story about him competing 3 weeks after a near miss? In the narrative, concern is framed as normal person thinking. The medics are an obstacle. Well-meaning friends are an obstacle. Anyone who suggests re-evaluating the risk is part of the test you have to pass. From an EN standpoint, that's the moment where courage quietly tips into recklessness, and persistence quietly tips into obsession. The nervous system has lost the ability to distinguish between a real threat and an ego bruise. The most dangerous part isn't that DM lives this way. It's that he exports this frame to men whose lives are much more fragile than his. Men without savings, men without medical cover, men whose whole existence is already one accident or one breakdown away from collapse. For them, this doctrine doesn't just inspire, it actively teaches self-harm. It says, if your body is screaming, stack more meaning on the goal until you can't hear it. If your partner is scared, reframe their fear as a test of how badly you want it. If your circuits are frying, remind yourself that people are watching, and quitting would let them down. None of this erases the good. DM gives lost men structure, language, and a sense of agency. He models taking responsibility instead of marinating in helplessness. In a culture of drift and sedation, that's not nothing. But in existential neurobiology, we're not interested in heroes or villains. We're interested in cost curves. The DM archetype shows us the cost of turning never quit into a sacrament. Your worth becomes contingent on constant pushing. Your relationships become a stage for your perseverance, and your body becomes a prop in a story about what it means to be a winner. So if you recognize yourself in this, the question isn't, is DM good or bad? The more useful question is, what happens inside your system when you hear stories like this? Do you feel genuinely resourced, or do you feel subtly ashamed of your limits? Do you feel invited into deeper aliveness, or pressured to keep performing while parts of you are going dark? Are you the one running the race, or are you the equipment that keeps getting rebuilt and pushed back into the fray because quitting is not allowed? From an EN perspective, Resilience isn't about deciding that you'll never give up. It's about knowing when your body is saying, not this, not like this, not at this cost, and having enough inner authority to listen. It's about distinguishing between the fear that protects life and the fear that protects an old story about yourself. It's about building a life where your kids, your partner, and your own nervous system are not collateral damage in your personal redemption arc. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to treat survivorship as a responsibility, not as permission to double down. If you find yourself drawn to the DM archetype, you're not wrong or weak. It means you're hungry for structure, meaning, and proof that your pain can be used for something. The invitation from existential neurobiology is simple. Keep the part that gives you agency, and examine the part that trains you to ignore your own circuit breakers. You don't have to join someone else's crusade to live a life that matters. And if you're going to run a race, make sure the part of you that has to pick up the pieces is the one who gets to decide whether it's worth it. Just stop here. Dive into existential neurobiology, a map for being real, existential and visceral, that transcends mere psychology, a place to see for better being. Click the link on the screen to dive deeper. See you inside.